How much did James get paid for the Dodge tattoo?
I didn't get paid anything, but Donut got 10 grand.
They did?
Yeah.
And Donut didn't hand that money off to you.
No.
That is why there's a new channel on YouTube called Speeed.
I saw like the announcement on your Instagram and I was like, oh no, is this live?
No, it's just us.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to meet you, man.
Right on,
I've been a big fan of yours for a while. My kids were like, do you know this guy, Donut Media? Because I'm always trying to, show off for them. I got this car stuff going on. And all they were interested in was your stuff. And I started watching it. And this is great. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, man. I was stoked when you hit me up. I honestly, like a couple weeks ago, I was thinking like, oh, I should ask my reps, like, how do I get on Spike's show?
Really?
Yeah, I was like, if Doug's on it, like, I could get on it.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's really funny. And here we are. It was actually, we have a group that edits the show down in Austin. Oh, right. And they, I was on the phone with them last week, and they said, would you ever consider having James Pumphrey on? I go, yeah, do you know him? They go, no, do you? And I'm like, I don't. I go, why don't I message him on Instagram? Yeah. And you responded, my friends in Austin are so impressed. He responded right away.
Yeah. I think my response was like, hell yeah, dude. Like, it's crazy. I was literally thinking, how do I get on the show? And
that's great.
Like, you hit me up yourself, and I checked. I was like, I made sure it was like the real account.
Oh, yeah,
because there's like all kinds of like scam podcast thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's real, and I'm happy you're here, and dude, we have a lot to talk about. Where did you grow up, by the way?
I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah. I love your story because you are you come out here to work in entertainment.
Yeah.
Right? And you have some success. Was it as a writer as well, or just an actor?
A writer and an actor. I say I'm a comedian because it kind of like is both of the things. So yeah, I had like some staff writing jobs. I wrote Loiter Squad, Tyler the Creator sketch show
on Adult Swim.
On Adult Swim.
That's an insane show.
Yeah, it was a pretty insane work experience. Like, I grew up loving Jackass. Like,
right.
The Jackass guys were just like my heroes. And so my boss was Jeff Tremaine. And so like working, because Dick House produced that show. And like working in the Jackass offices with the Odd Future guys who were like 19 at the time was like all like decorum that you learn for like a workplace it just like goes right out the window, and you're getting like water bottles thrown at your nuts. And,
yeah. Do you have a favorite clip of yours?
Dude, honestly, like, it was the weirdest writing experience because we would write every day and then they would throw everything out and shoot whatever they wanted. Like, I was never on set. I would just like sit there and write sketches and turn them in, and then like we had to like change our formats like a million times, like so the guys would read them and stuff. So like, I'm not sure if anything I actually wrote made it on, even though I was like one of the only writers that was on for 2 seasons.
And he's Tyler is also a car guy. I've seen him at a couple of car shows,
really cool cars
floating around.
So the guy who built my E30 built Tyler's M3. And then Frank Ocean's M3 and all those guys.
So you're floating around Hollywood. You're writing. I always say comedy guy. That's how because comedian to me, even though I've done comedy on television, I always thought, well, comedian is Jerry and folks like that.
Like a stand-up.
Gaffigan, stand-ups. That's what a comedian is. And Jerry said, comedy guy, guy, comedy guy.
Yeah.
You're a comedy guy.
Yeah, so I guess I'm more of a comedy guy.
You're a comedy guy.
I did like improv and sketch comedy a whole lot, but never... I'm like a group worker. I work well with other guys, and I like know my limitations really well. So I'm really good at leaning on people and like finding those people. So I never did stand up. Always like group stuff.
And what kind of acting jobs were you getting?
I was on a bunch of pilots. I was on a sitcom for Spike TV called Players, with a lot of the founding members of the UCB. This guy, Matt Walsh, who founded UCB.
Oh, yeah, right.
Was like a really like strong mentor to me when I was younger. And he like gave me the lead in this movie that he made called High Road. Dylan O'Brien's first movie for girls out there. Everybody in that movie got famous except me, and I was the lead. It's like Abby Elliott, Rob Riggle, Joe Latruglio, Ed Helms, Dylan O'Brien, yeah, just like tons of people. And like, I'm the top billed person. And then like everybody under me has this like crazy acting career.
People call me the poor man's Ed Helms.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually come out of theaters. I remember I went to see Larry David on Broadway and I walked out and people started taking my picture. And, well, we love The Hangover.
Yeah.
And I went, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me. And I don't like the association. But so you're getting these jobs. You're the number one guy on the call sheet. And everybody else, because it's a truth of Hollywood that everybody's careers is on a different trajectory.
Oh, for sure.
And everybody pops at different times. But were you processing that as, I'm not going to make it? This is just yet another body blow that this business has to offer.
I think like I was always right there. Like I got like really good representation like really early and like got put up on stage like really early. I moved here the summer UCB opened in LA. And so like, and people around me were always like hitting. And so like, I was always close enough to never give up. But like very frustrated that I was that close. Like at times I was almost like, oh, I wish I wasn't getting good feedback because then I could quit. But I was like doing well enough to not be allowed to quit, but not well enough to pay my rent.
You've just summed up the whole business.
Yeah, totally.
That's what my whole life has been like. It always feels like that. But at one point, you're hired to, you get cast in a big pilot with Lorne Michaels' production with Will Arnett.
Yeah.
What is it, Up All Night?
Up All Night.
NBC. What happens there? Because I was watching one of your videos. Let me interrupt myself.
Yeah.
And you said, you were talking about your 10 big rules for life. And one is don't be late.
Don't be late.
And you get cast in Up All Night. You get invited to this party and you show up late. And then eventually you're cut out of the pilot. Is that, do you connect those things?
I mean, I was late for what I thought was like cocktails. And it turns out it was the table read. I was young and poor enough to not know that Soho House had offices in the back and like boardrooms. No. So I was like, Soho House, like we're having apps. And I mean, I think
how late were you for a table read?
Like an hour.
Oh,
which
no.
is pretty rough. And like, you know, at that point, I'm fourth guy on the call sheet. So it was like Christina Applegate, Will Arnett, Maya Rudolph, Lorne Michaels, and me. And I shouldn't be the last guy walking into that room. I should be the first. And so like, I think it kicked off sort of just the tone of how that whole project went. And I think, you know, looking back, I think I did get a lot of opportunities really early on, like early 20s, like 21, 22. And I just thought that's the way it was going to be. You know, I was just like, oh, like this is how it is. And I like that Spike TV show I booked when I was like barely old enough to drink. I was like 21 years old and I was like, oh, so I've like made it.
Right.
Like I'm good.
Right.
And so I don't think I realized how rare a lot of the opportunities I had were and didn't necessarily treat them with like the respect that they deserved at the time, probably.
Okay. So you're an hour late.
Hour late.
You walk in.
Christina's visibly pissed.
She's pissed.
Yeah.
So what do you say? And who do you say it to?
And I was also like wearing like a sport coat.
Because you thought it was you thought it was a dinner. You thought it was a celebration. Yeah. You wanted to arrive fashionably late, and that's what most people will do.
Yeah.
It turns out it's a table read. You didn't know it. I would have fired my agent in this moment, but okay.
Yeah.
But who did you go, hey, I'm sorry, and
yeah, I think it was just like a sheepish sit down, grab my script and like try and get to work.
This isn't that bad.
Yeah.
I don't think this is that bad.
Yeah.
And you know, like with pilots especially, there's a high attrition rate for everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
any one person, you know, because behind the scenes, I've been on the other side of it, the show running side. And you shoot the stuff. It really has nothing to do with whether anybody was late or not late. It has to do with money frequently. Okay, we're going to pick up the show, but you guys need to cut some money out. And if you're down the dial on that list of characters, they just go, okay, that guy, or testing, or just new directions from for the show that are out of the showrunner's hands.
I also got fired from another pilot after the table read. I was going to play Mandy Moore's little brother in a pilot. And we did like the table read, and this was the next year. So it was like the year after Up All Night. And we do the table read for the Mandy Moore pilot. And my manager calls me and he's like, hey, you're off the show. And I was like, oh no, like again, you know, like this.
Yeah.
You know,
look, it's a common story.
Yeah.
You know, I was put in the position of having to fire somebody who was the star of the pilot.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They just went, they don't have it. And I said, respectfully disagree, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
They're like, they go. Because you just, when the network moves, and not necessarily in the right direction. I mean, we all have these stories. Like, I've brought some of the funniest people that you know from, you know, who are on Saturday Night Live right now and been told by network executives, these people are not funny.
Yeah.
And they will never work in network TV.
That's right.
And I hope they're watching Saturday Night Live this week.
Yeah.
Because they're all, you know, frequently they're just wrong.
Yeah.
But they might be right for whatever their audience is at the time. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is you were pretty much done with that life, right? Done with acting, done with writing, and leaving LA with your tail between your legs. Like, this isn't for me. It's not going to happen for me.
Like, I tested for like 3 or 4 pilots the year I started working at Donut. So I was just like exhausted.
It's a horrible business.
Yeah,
It's an absolutely horrible business. This is part of the reason I'm here right now.
Yeah.
This is so much better.
Yeah.
So much better. But you're on your way home, you're done with it, and you get an email from these guys at Donut Media. And what does the email say?
It says, we just did a short film with your friend Josh. We're starting this new automotive media company. We asked Josh if there were any like comedians who liked cars. He said, you're the only one. And so I got a meeting with those guys and we just like hit it off, and I just stayed forever.
And boom, the whole thing takes off.
Yeah.
Right? It's such an old story about, and I try not to give advice about this business, but the one piece of advice I've seen over the many years that I've lived is if you just don't stop and you just keep moving forward, you find your spot somehow magically.
Totally.
Donut Media gets this recommendation from your friend. I'm hoping he's still your friend now, right? Yeah.
Josh Fadum. Thank you.
He's the man. He is the man. And you find the exact right spot for you at Donut Media. Right.
Yeah.
And immediately, I think that's right where I started going, like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
I watched your video. I go, this is not my Jeremy Clarkson. This is a younger generation's Jeremy Clarkson. He's funny. The editing is great. He's disheveled. He's unshaven.
Yeah.
And I'm watching all of these videos, and he's telling me things, sometimes stuff I already know, but I don't mind hearing it again the way he's putting it and the way he's kind of putting a focus on it. How quickly did that stuff take off, or was that a bit of a grind?
So when I first started working at Donut, I was writing like basically ad copy. You know, we did a lot of like bigger stunt videos. I call them like Gymkhana light.
Right.
Because back then that was what was viral on YouTube, like these huge stunt videos, and a lot of the crew had a background in those, like in that arena. So I was like the guy who would like write down what it would be. So like I wrote like a lot of like, and then all of a sudden the roar of a V8 bounces off of like the buildings, and you know, like have to describe a car drifting around Seattle or drifting around Dubai or like whatever. And then I was working there for a year kind of doing that, and it was like the best. Like I didn't hang out with car guys for like ever. And so like just being around other guys who like I could talk about suspension with was like, oh my God, this is the best. And then one day my boss was like, hey, I want you to make a video where you're on camera and just like tell the history of a car. And I was like, okay. So we wrote like a 4-page script about the history of the Skyline, and we shot it, and it took a few weeks to edit it, and we put it out, and it got like 3 million views on Facebook.
Wow.
And he was like, all right, now you have to do this every week. And I was like, all right. So
That's
that
great.
became my job.
Yeah.
And then from there, Donut stopped focusing as much on taking on clients to like work for hire stuff. And we moved to an editorial model where we'll make what we want to make, and then we'll find money afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then it starts running.
Yeah.
And life is good.
Yeah.
Life is good for a long time.
Really good.
How
yeah.
many years?
I mean, it was like really, really good. I'd say from like 2016 when I started there, like through COVID was like pretty awesome. And like COVID was like pretty fun.
Yeah.
We did like a lot of views. Because people were watching YouTube. Yeah.
And then,
I mean,
they sold Donut.
Yeah, they sold Donut. Yeah.
And who buys it? A venture capitalist?
Yeah.
Money. Some money buys it. And at that point, I watched your video leaving Donut. There's a difference between your generation and my generation. But I would never think to make a video about leaving something. But there was obviously a lot of interest. And, you know, for a lot of folks, including me, you were Donut Media. You were the face of it. And they're lucky to have you. So you leaving is a big moment. Your leaving video has about 7 million views at this point where you go through it. It's a 40-minute video. But for me, from my standpoint, am I wrong to just go venture capital money goes into Donut Media? You're not an equity partner in that, even though you really made them. And now you've got some new corporate overlords who are kind of interfering with the way you deliver content.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think people assume that they didn't really interfere creatively at all. I think like that's an easy assumption to make, and I think like a lot of the fans have made that assumption. I think like they let us do our thing. I think the big realization was just kind of waking up one day and being like, I had a huge part in this. I've been here forever. I'm getting older and I don't own this.
Right.
And like, I'm not going to ever. And so kind of like having the proof that I can do it and knowing that like I'll never own this one, you know, it was just like a time where it was like, well, I have to own it at some point. And so, yeah, I think it was, you know, we were building this thing for, you know, 9 years. And then we wake up and realize like, oh, it's already like sold and we didn't get rich. and so like, I'm a salary employee from now on and I'm not quite happy with where I'm at. And so I think I can do this alone. And, you know, luckily I'm not alone. I have like some really great guys I have 3 other guys that I work on Speeed with. And so I don't know, like I just wanted to be my own boss and own my own thing.
You know, what I mean? I look back at all these little moments in my life that are some of the biggest moments that kind of slingshot me into more success. And you've just done it. Excuse me. We'll get to Speed in a minute, but you're exactly right. As your new agent, I can just tell you, you made a brilliant move leaving. Your calculation is 100% correct. We're not watching Donut because we like the words donutmedia. We're watching because of you. And you have value. And now you're starting your own thing, Speed. We're going to show a little bit of that. But first, I'm going to sell an ad.
Oh, hell yeah.
But I know you like RaceDeck because I saw you followed RaceDeck.
Yeah.
Over 2 decades ago, RaceDeck was invented, cost-effective, durable, and truly do-it-yourself modular flooring system engineered for the garage. RaceDeck's multi-patented design allows for easy DIY installation without all the hassles and mess of toxic epoxy coatings, transforming your garage into, in just hours, not days. Look, there it is. Over 20 styles to transform that ugly garage into the coolest garage on the block. RaceDeck can handle vehicle rolling loads in excess of 80,000 pounds, will not chip, peel, or stain. Over 33 patents with the product line, 20 styles, and countless even more color options. They manufacture 24/7, ship most orders in 48 hours. RaceDeck is the original USA-made, multi-patented modular flooring system engineered for the garage, invented in 1997 by our friend Jorgen Mahler. Shop at racedeck.com and use code SPIKE911. For an exclusive 15% off and free shipping, racedeck.com, code SPIKE911. Thank you, RaceDeck. There you go. Let's look at his channel. Can you throw his channel up there? The new thing is called Speed. With an extra E.
With 3 E's, yeah.
What's the extra E for?
More everything.
There was an ad in public access television in New York in the 80s. Well, for 1-900 numbers.
Oh, yeah.
1-900-P, 576-P. What's the extra E for? More P. That's an old comedy writer joke. Not as vile as it sounds. Actually, it is as vile as it sounds. There it is. There's the new Speed channel. Look at you. 1.32 million subscribers already.
Yeah.
First of all, I love the name.
Thank you.
Coming up with names is the hardest thing in the world, right?
It's the worst.
And what were some of your other names that you came up with?
At one point, I was going to call it Power Baby because I have like a catchphrase, Mo Power Baby. But then I was afraid I was going to get sued because Mo Power Baby is trademarked by Donut. Speed was early on. At one point, it was just going to be James. So I have a logo for just James laying around. I have a bunch of stickers in the glove box. I can give you one for James. But we settled on Speed pretty early on. It was like Jesse, who was the chief creative officer of Donut and is one of my partners. It was like a phone call where I came up with the idea of it to like move away from cars and start doing like other men's interest stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I do like about it is that we veer out of cars and we keep car like this the Leica camera thing. You were saying when you first came in, you're in the middle of getting ready for a video right now, which is what?
Right now we're shooting a video called I Tried 30 Viral Health Trends in 30 Days, and we're on day 6.
So what have you tried thus far?
So day 1 is cold plunge. So we've been cold plunging every day.
Is there anything to that?
I don't know. It doesn't feel good yet. I don't like it yet. No.
I can tell you. You may know I play a lot of tennis and that takes its toll. So I played 4 hours yesterday and my body hurts. And when I do put cold ice on something or I do a cold bath or something, it takes pain away. But it only for like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah. And I'm exhausted now. Like at night, like the sleeping better is true because I'm going to sleep at like 9:30 right now.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's insane.
Not for me, but that's fine. So you've tried cold plunge. What else?
But we're doing it every day too. So every day we'll add a new one. So by the 30th day, we're doing 30 health trends.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So the scheduling is like the biggest challenge of this entire thing.
Yeah. So cold plunge,
then run at least 1 mile.
Okay.
Then journaling, whole food diet, meditation we added today.
Oh man. I mean, you could just stop right there and have a very nice life.
And then 10,000 steps.
Yeah. But how are you going to get 20 more out? I mean, what is the one you're most afraid of?
Caffeine. We're giving up caffeine at some point. I know it's on there. I don't know the order of them. So it's like a surprise every day.
I did that because I had to. I had norovirus 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And it was 3 days where I just couldn't eat or definitely couldn't have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
In fact, Cameron, that last show that we did, last week's show, and I watched it, my performance is way better because I'm not all juiced up. I'm all juiced up right now. Yeah. But it's you'll be angry for 3 to 5 days for sure.
Yeah.
And then you just level out.
Yeah, like right now it's like sort of a motivator. Like I wake up, I do the cold plunge, and then I get to have coffee. And so once we're just like removing treats, like removing the bad for you joys of life.
There were some other videos here that I really was liking. Carhartt. My kids gave me a Carhartt cap.
Oh yeah.
And I wore it on the show, and everybody's laughing that I was wearing it because I don't really understand the brand. But you did a video like, why are we wearing it? Was that the video?
Yeah. So
and what conclusions did you arrive?
I think like Carhartt obviously has its roots in like workwear and the real blue collar rough and tough guys, and I think now it's become this like huge fashion trend. And there's some pushback from like the original guys who were wearing it, where it's like, it's not a trend, it's lifestyle. And people are claiming like stolen valor. And in the video, we like just tell the history of Carhartt and then kind of come to the conclusion that like, if you're a guy and you're wearing clothes, like it was all developed for the military.
Right.
So like, unless you want to wear a robe, which is stolen valor from like, the church, everything that we wear was developed for like something else.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, the channel's fantastic. I love what you're up to. I think you're at the beginning of something really huge here. Really huge. I
appreciate it.
I mean, because we're looking at no knock on GQ, what GQ was, what they meant to guys in the past, gear patrols, those places. We're always looking for a one-stop kind of brand or a person or a site to kind of tell us, because none of us know what we're doing.
Yeah.
To go, hey, here's what this is. Here's why it is. And, maybe I can help you look a little better or not waste so much money on sneakers and the rest of it.
Totally, man.
And I think that's where your brand is going to be big. And I think that's where it's going.
Yeah,
I think you're like, you're the next Martha Stewart, but a guy.
Dude, hell yeah. I mean, you mentioned Jeremy Clarkson and GQ in one interview. I'm like, hell yeah, dude.
I think Clarkson, and with that Martha Stewart, that's who you are going to be in the future. All right, we got to talk about cars. So you're in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
We always talk about a couple of cars that are relevant to any car guy. One is that when you're younger, that first car you see on the road where you're chewing gum with your friends and it goes by and it stops you dead in your tracks. What is that for you?
I mean, there's a few. Like Shelby GT350, I think is like my just like God car.
Yeah.
I love Carroll Shelby. I love the story of it. I love like a Skunkworks crew. And I remember seeing like a white GT350 when I was a kid, and like my dad telling me what it was, and like sort of who Carroll Shelby was, and just being really connected to that. My dad drove MGs when I was younger, so like British stuff, and it was always like, I think that might have like informed my like wanting to like different things.
Right.
Especially
But MGs, like when you're a little kid, they're little.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
You just wanna, I could drive that.
Yeah.
Right.
But like in Kentucky, everything is like a big V8 and like muscle cars and trucks. And my dad, being like a British car guy, was like, oh, I like different stuff.
Right.
BMW M5, like an E28 was like my dad's grail car. And then there's a story. My dad had an E28 535 IS when I was a kid, and I used to have like bad asthma attacks. And one night I had like an asthma attack, and we had to go to the emergency room. And like my whole family is like, that car saved your life. Like, because if it weren't like a BMW, like we wouldn't have made it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So real connection to old BMWs.
Yeah.
I grew up working on Volkswagens, were like the first cars that I worked on.
Right. In what way were you working on it? How did you get an opportunity to work on Volkswagens?
I broke them, and then I'd have to fix them.
So what was that first, what was that Taproot car? That's the next car we always say. The car that you buy, but it's not necessarily the car you keep as part of a collection or as a favorite car. What was that first car?
A Mark III Volkswagen GTI VR6 was my first like car that I customized. And my friend Ross Lakites, his older brother had a GTI and a really pretty girlfriend. And I was like, I gotta get a GTI. And so Ross had a Jetta and I had a GTI, and we like put suspension on them and like nice tires, and we would like get in like actual fights in school about like, dude, my car's faster than yours. Like, no, dude. Like on Shelbyville Road, I pulled on you through third, dude. And so like just watching them.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's fantastic.
I actually still own a Mark III.
You do?
Golf, yeah. We're doing a series on it for Speed.
Like, where do you base Speed out of? Do you have an office space that you're doing
not
it?
Yet.
Not yet.
Right now we shoot in my garage.
So this is another one of these garage businesses like Apple.
Yeah, just like Apple.
Like Pedal Mafia last week. We were talking about Pedal Mafia. Started in a garage. Now Speed is in a garage.
In a garage.
Right.
So a legitimate garage.
Do you have manufacturers crawling all over you to give you press cars?
No.
Not yet.
No,
but it's not really your thing, right? You modify stuff and that's...
Yeah, I like building cars more than... I mean, I've driven a lot of cars and made a lot of videos about driving cars. And I think that's something that we want to do in the future. But like, we have to figure out how we're going to do it.
Right.
You know? Because like, obviously Top Gear is such a huge influence on me, but there's a lot of like white guy drives car.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. So, and I did that with Donuts. So I want to figure out what that looks like for Speed.
You know, Top Gear is heavily scripted.
Yeah.
Right. I've worked with some of the folks that used to work there. And when you approach an idea for a car video, you know, any video, do you outline first? Are you writing dialogue for yourself? Like what is your approach to an idea?
I think the first thing we try and come up with is like as close to the title of the video as possible. Like, why is someone gonna watch this? You know, like it's the why would anyone besides us care? Because I think, we're given a lot of opportunities in this business to do a ton of stuff that I want to do. It's like, yeah, dude, I want to go to Germany and drive a bunch of Volkswagens, or drive a bunch of BMWs on the Autobahn. Like, I would love to do that, but like, is it a video? Like, I don't know. So we have a kind of a hard rule where we don't do anything for us. It's all for the audience. So first thing is like, why would anyone care about me doing this? And so like, usually that's like a take on like it's not just driving a GT3. It's like, is this the most overrated car on the internet? Or like the car the internet won't stop arguing about. And so like from there, we do outline really heavily, usually write a lot of dialogue. And like, pretty intense scripting.
Is that outline process a couple of days? Do you have like, is everybody in the room? Are you organizing your thoughts? Do you kind of have your little skeleton of how a video is organized, or is it always different?
We're still figuring out our process now. So we have 4 guys that are working on Speed. Me, 2 directors essentially, and then an editor. And so like someone will usually take the lead on a project, and then we'll agree on an outline together. And then one of us will take it and go work on it for a few days and then bring it back to the group. And usually the group will like ruin it. And we'll kind of like start over, but start over way closer to where we need to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And is this everybody's full-time job now? Like
right
they're
now,
showing up at 9 in the morning and leaving at 6 or 7?
Yeah, more like 11 right now, but, which is good because like when we first launched, I kind of felt like, oh man, there wasn't enough to do yet. We were just like setting up bank accounts and stuff. Yeah. And so now that we're fully into it, like we're doing this health challenge, but we're also building my golf, and we're also, writing this like how to dress better without trying video. So it is, 13-hour days at this point, but wow. I don't know. I just feel like if I weren't doing that, then I would be doing something wrong. And based on how talented I know these other guys are, I must be okay if they're willing to work with me. And if we're all working this hard, it's probably going to work.
Cameron has an old Golf. He wants you to look at the end of the show.
Hell yeah, dude.
He's the Volkswagen guy.
Yeah, dude.
He's like, I got to get rid of my car. He goes, I don't know what to do with it. I go, you're lucky because James is he is an expert in all of this. James brought something special for us, and we're going to take a look at it right now. His E30. There it is.
So this is my 1987 325 IS that I built with the help of my friend Chris Castro at Castro Motorsport. There's a lot on it. So on the front, it's like all European lighting. So those are Euro H4 headlights. So non-projectors. Sacrifice a little bit of light output, but I think it just looks more period. Most of the aesthetic things on this car I did to make it look older. Because I really wanted 2002, but they're just sort of a pain to drive. So I think like E30 and like all 80s BMWs are old enough to like look like an old car, but not too old to like drive. So,
I love the front bumper there.
Yeah, so the front bumpers are European small chrome bumpers, and then the lip thing, the fascia, I guess, is a BBS unit.
Do you ever get in trouble for not having a front license plate?
Not on this car yet. I did get a ticket on my other car.
You did?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to put a plate on that. That Euro back looks so cool. Let's take a look inside, and you can tell us what's going on there. You did an engine swap with it too, right?
Yeah, so it's got an S54 engine from a 2006 M3. Wow. It's got high compression pistons. So those are recovered Recaros. I bought those off of OfferUp for like $1,300.
Look at the dice.
Yeah.
There. What is this? That is so cool.
Yeah. And then we custom made the rear seat to sort of mimic an E30 M3 rear seat. But we made the bolsters way bigger.
Can we go back to the dice for 1 second?
Yeah.
How did you decide which number would be on top? Was that a conversation?
They came like that off of eBay.
They did.
Yeah.
So are they both 6?
Yeah.
And look, and 6 and 3 adds up to our favorite magic number, 9.
Yeah.
Okay,
So those are the last addition to the car.
They were
the cherry on top.
And how does this thing drive?
It's awesome.
It seems like it's going to be really fast and light.
Yeah, and when I built a lot of cars that sort of suck to drive, because like as a younger guy, it was always like, well, I want to set it up for the track because I might go to the track. I go to the track 3 times a year, maybe. So this car, I really had the intention of driving it every day. And so it's got a decent amount of tire on it. The suspension is like custom valved by ground control. And I really do drive it almost every day.
The Dunlop tires are beautiful. Look at that. The exposed Dunlop and the white. Do you ever have to paint in that white? Does it ever fade?
Yeah, it got really dirty, but I had it detailed before I came here.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. What is that? What is this? And there does seem to be a little bit of a division between track guys and not track guys. Yeah, because I'm exactly like you, right? We have GT3 RSs and things that we drive, but I don't get to the track more than 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah, it's just not the way I drive. I like going for a nice cruise up PCH and relaxing, with the time I have. But it seems like you get a lot of heat from the track guys. Why aren't they nicer?
I think people just like being mean. I think some guys are just mean.
They do?
Yeah.
I've noticed that on, one of the reasons I never went to YouTube is because of that meanness. I just thought, I'm used to a certain amount of it and funny comments, and you can make fun of me if you want. But
if someone's funny, I welcome them making fun of me.
Yeah, for sure. But then there's just kind of mean, just like, and what I always loved about this hobby of ours is it was so inclusive. Like, the moment I realized it was I was shooting Car Matchmaker, and I was meeting with a car Prius, a collection of Prius owners that had their own car gang. Yeah, the least scary gang in the world, the Prius guys. And they were, and then you talk to them about their car, and they're so passionate about every aspect of the Prius. Yeah, you just go, we're all the same. We all just kind of like different things.
Yeah, people are. I support people being into anything.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the thought behind Speed, where I'm really into cars, but like everybody I know who's into cars is also into like watches,
right,
jeans, or whatever. And I think if you're sort of particular about your stuff, it's just like all your stuff.
Right, you know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. So this car came into your collection when?
I bought this car in 2023. Yeah, so like summer of 23. And then last spring, we completely tore it apart and put the engine in it, did some body work. There's a lot of like little tiny stuff. If you want to go around to the back, the rear taillights, I found like a heck blend. So like in between, like right around the license plate, normally that's just black. And I found a heck blend, which is the red part in the middle. And normally the E30 like dips down under that. So I filled that little cavity, and that whole rear like lights up like RoboCop's eyes with my brake lights. Yeah. So it kind of looks like a Fox Body Mustang from the back. I realized in hindsight. And then normally there's some holes in the bottom where the North American bumpers mount, and we like shaved all that.
Are you ever just going to buy something vintage and not modify it? Will you ever do that? Or are there cars you just have been longing for and waiting to buy?
Some sort of Porsche at some point, definitely. I think like a 964 or a 993 is like my grail car. I don't know if I could leave anything stock. Like I just don't. I think like part of the reason I like cars is because I like changing them a little bit. So right. I mean, at least wheels and tires on everything.
Well, when you look at modified 964s and 993s, you have like Gunther Works, with the 993s, and you have the Singer folks with the 964s. Are you talking modifications like that, or?
I don't think to that level. I think I am getting to the point where I want to sort of like build around the car more than I used to. Right. Whereas like I used to just do stuff to do it. And now like with this car, like the intention was to drive it. So like everything kind of works together. So like I don't think I would tear a 964 down and like rebuild it because I want it because I want it. you know what I mean? So I want to appreciate how Porsche made it.
Well, I'm sure when you were doing this car, you realized it would be a nice tax deduction for Speed. And there are many tax changes coming this year, and income tax brackets are expected to be adjusted for inflation. While the exact figures haven't been finalized yet, taxpayers can generally anticipate slight increases in income thresholds for each bracket. But you don't have to sort through these changes on your own if you owe back taxes or you have unfiled taxes. Do not, I repeat, do not wait for the IRS letter to act. Waiting to get caught makes you look like a tax evader, Cameron. That's what that looks like, and it will not end well. Getting ahead of this is a smart move, but never contact the IRS alone. Turn it over to Tax Network USA. Why? Because not all tax resolution companies are the same. First, Tax Network USA has a strong relationship with the IRS. Second, they have preferred direct line to they have a red bat phone to the IRS. That's right. Why is that important to you? Because they know which agents to deal with and which to avoid. We avoid Helen. But Phil, he's good. We're going to call Phil on this one. And third, their genius strategies are designed to quickly settle your tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million. God bless you if you owe $10 million. Yeah. Good Lord. Their attorneys and negotiators have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Stop looking over your shoulder and put your IRS troubles behind you. Here is all you have to do. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Spike911. That's 1-800-958-1000 or tnusa.com/Spike911. Thank you, Tax Network, for sponsoring Spike's Car Radio. All right, we're going to do some questions, but first let's put up that bus that survived. There was a good post on Instagram for this bus. Have you seen this picture, like in the Palisades fire?
Oh, yeah,
bus there was an iconic picture up. We don't have it up. Maybe it's down below if you scroll down. Of the damage. You don't have to click on it, but there it is. That really caught the car community. And I think just caught everybody off guard. You know, this Survivor VW bus in a beautiful shade of blue. It looks like it inspired an IPA beer of some kind now already.
You gotta monetize it.
Yeah, and here's a close-up shot. Let's go up to the shot. This is the damage. It's actually not as undamaged as we may have thought. This is the fire damage to the car from all sides. So one side is damaged and the other side isn't. What would you do? What would you do to a bus like this if they gave it to you to fix up?
I mean, I would keep it pretty. I would keep the burns on it, honestly, because that's like the story of it. I'm almost like relieved to see that there is some damage to it because it was almost hard to believe. And the timing of when that picture came out, it was like the day after the fire.
Yeah.
So it was like this nice, like hopeful moment. So I would definitely keep the patina. Is that our Burns patina?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a genius idea. Just keep it like that. Let it tell the story of this thing that happened.
I'd probably slam it and then make the interior nice.
So you keep the fire damage, but slam it.
Dump it just on the belly. It almost undrivable.
It really, for me, becomes one of the most significant VW buses ever. You know, and I know it's just because it's our neighborhood, but you're exactly right. As this tragedy was unfolding, there were these little moments, hour to hour, that just gave you joy in between the crying and the upset, you know?
And it's just perfect. It's like a perfect color. Like it's the opposite color of fire.
Yeah.
And just like, look how it like pokes out against like all that destruction. Just like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm here.
You can try to burn California all you want, but we're coming back.
Yeah,
we're burned on one side of our faces, but we're coming back. Yeah, okay. I'm just in awe of this car.
And such a Southern California car.
Yeah,
you know, if that was anything but a Volkswagen bus.
Like,
what other vehicle like signifies West LA more than like a Volkswagen bus?
Yeah, we can't let Volkswagen take this and restore it back to. You're exactly right. I was in the wrong headspace before the show, thinking we should get Volkswagen to take this and restore it, but that's not it. We should really do a loving kind of fix up on it that preserves its current state.
Definitely.
And let it stand as a monument to to the west side of LA and Pacific Palisades, and to the greatness of the Volkswagen bus.
Totally. Full mechanical refresh.
Yeah.
Keep the burns.
Yeah. And look at the beer. Let's click on. Let's just see what that beer. Somebody can already made it a beer. There you go. Oh,
hopefully, all proceeds go to.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, good.
Oh man, I can't get over that. All right, well, we have some. Let me just make sure I've got everything. You're gonna have to come back because you're a fantastic guest. But let's get some questions and then we'll get you out of here. You see, we're very well prepared here. I had a hard time picking out. I hope you weren't offended by your little picture.
No, I love it. Yeah.
I thought it was a GIF that was going to jingle back and forth, but what's his favorite Porsche? I think we covered that. 993s, 964s. Lots of folks are excited about the collab they never thought they needed, and I think they're exactly right. Exactly right. Entertainment guys who then pivot into car things, but a modifier and a preservationist. That's a very big difference.
Yeah.
356 Mafia wants to know, as a boomer, am I too old to wear a Speed hat?
Absolutely not. You can go to speed.co and get one.
James Pakeman wants to know, if anybody can get you guys into a JDM, please God, it must be him. Why should I be into JDM? Why should I get into one?
I was actually having the conversation. I think in a lot of ways, the JDM craze is ending. So like the 90s were obviously the golden era of Japanese cars. Mm-hmm. And as of this year, we can import cars from 2000 and up. So I think a lot of the boom in Japanese cars was because they were like these forbidden fruits. And then every once in a while you'd see like a GTR on the street and you'd be like, oh my God. But now I think European cars are going to take over as like the forbidden fruit. And then more and more, like as like companies were sharing like chassis and stuff, like they kind of sold everything everywhere. So I think, I don't know. Japanese cars are great though. But I think we're going to enter into like an era of like really cool Audis and like cool BMWs.
What would you import?
With
the new 2000?
Probably a B5 RS4 Avant, or
fantastic.
Yeah. Or a Renault Clio V6, the one with the rear engine. Those are really cool. Yeah.
Lewis ESC wants to know, James loves brands with stories and interesting histories. What watch brands does he like or find interesting?
We want to do a video on Rolex. Obviously, it's a bear of a video and a lot of very opinionated enthusiasts. Yeah. So we want to do it right.
But also a highly controlled, secretive brand, right?
For sure.
Where you could, shed some light on how they maintain that. I don't know. I can only think of another, like the diamond industry maybe, and Leica, where they're able to kind of keep their prices afloat and keep it feeling exclusive and keep it valuable.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. It's fascinating. Brand.
Yeah, it is. For a company that makes a couple million watches a year. Yet, why can't I get one?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you like them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you at the end of the show. I've got one of our Sheffields for you.
Oh,
so
sick.
Maybe you can make a video about that.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be good.
Yeah.
The Spike's Car Radio Sheffield. Not exactly Rolex, but much more affordable and high quality. Yet. Correct. Yet. God, these Instagram names. Oya Gowaruju wants to know, do you think modern supercars, hypercars are losing their character compared to classics?
There's a lot of them now. There's way more of them than there ever was. So I think the scarcity and I think I'm skewed because I live in Los Angeles, but I see a lot of supercars.
We do.
Yeah.
And then you go into Beverly Hills and it's all hypercars.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't necessarily know. I don't recognize all of them because I think it's like, it's possible to miss a supercar release where I don't think like, I don't know, they made Diablos for what, like 15 years? They made Countachs for just as long. So there's a lot more of them. And I like old cars. And I like dangerous cars. Like my favorite, if I could have any Lamborghini, it'd be a Diablo. Like you're just like right over the front axle. Like it's terrifying to drive.
The 917 is like that.
Yeah.
The Carrera GT is one of the most dangerous cars I've ever driven.
Almost killed Jay Leno.
You have to respect it when you drive it, which is great. You know, you get in it and it scares you, and it continues to scare you. And it's such an interesting, fun driving experience when you get control of that car, which you never will get control of the handling. But it's fun to have something like that. I wish they weren't so expensive. Chris Creation Machine wants to know, is James, is Spike your real dad? Yes. He's 6'4", man. Yeah. That's the proof right there. Yeah. He's not my kid. But we'll do a DNA test and we'll find out. Daniel,
I don't think you're old enough to be my dad.
I am, believe me. I'm old enough to be your grandfather. Fro Wagon Performance wants to know, rate the top 5 areas in the USA for the tuner customized car scene. You can do the top 2 or
I'd
top
say
3.
Southern California for sure, and then probably Florida as a whole.
Yeah. You know, there was
very lax import laws in Florida.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Not like Alabama. You can do anything you want there. We talked about a list a few months back about the biggest and best car communities in the United States, and Los Angeles wasn't on the top 10.
Really?
It makes no sense,
That's
right?
crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was like Houston, and then it went, it was car enthusiastic car communities. So it was like Toronto.
Yeah. People love to hate on California.
Yeah.
Because we're the best. And like people always comment on my videos like, yeah, wait till they outlaw those in California, just like every classic car. And I'm like, there's probably a higher concentration of classic cars in Southern California than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Because we can drive here year round.
We can drive here. And we don't have rust. It's crazy.
And another thing, none of us are from here. We just moved here because it's nice here. And as you've seen now, just recently, we are in a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
We're going to have a bunch of amazing days. And then LA is going to fuck us up for real. Either an earthquake or a fire or a mudslide. That's the deal we have. We know that's the deal we have. Lots of love. Everybody's happy about this big crossover episode.
Crossover of the decade.
Nick wants to know your favorite cameo, I guess your favorite acting experience over the years. What's the one you look back at and go, all right, that one was great. I loved it. How I Met Your Mother, for example.
How I Met Your Mother was cool. I was on Arrested Development.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. So like I only had like one line. So like the actual acting part wasn't insane, but like getting the call, because I did an audition.
Yeah.
And getting the call that Mitch knew who I was and was like,
oh, wow,
he wants you to be on the show. Like I started crying. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. What a business this is, huh? Yeah. I think you would have been just fine if you just stayed. You wouldn't have found your perfect spot maybe because comedy seems to have fallen off a cliff. Mm-hmm. Like there doesn't seem to be any anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there's that FX show about the kids in the kitchen there. What is that called?
The Bear.
The Bear.
Yeah. People love The Bear.
Oh, it's a very good half-hour drama.
Yeah.
Fantastic half-hour drama. What? Why would they ask this? How much did James get paid for the Dodge tattoo?
I didn't get paid anything, but Donut got $10,000.
They did?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What do you mean?
So very early on in Donut, there was like sort of like this feeling that we were building something and we were all like working towards this thing. And so there was a number of videos and situations like early on where we were like, all right, cool, dude, let's get after it. And one of those was like Dodge hit us up and it was at the end of the year and they were like, we have $10,000 that we have to spend by the end of the month. I was like, oh, I'll get a Dodge tattoo. And so like on my chest, I have Powered by Dodge that Dodge paid $10,000 for.
But Donut. They paid Donut, and Donut didn't hand that money off to you.
No,
I don't understand. Like, so who said they had $10,000? Dodge.
Dodge, yeah.
We'd like to spend $10,000. They call Donut Media. Someone there goes, all right, I'll ask the guys for an idea. You say, I'll get Dodge tattooed on me.
Yeah.
And they go, great. And then they take the money.
Yeah.
That is why there's a new channel on YouTube called Speeed.
Yeah.
That is why Speeed is going to be huge. That is why I believe, and I'm going to say it here, and I'm not afraid to say it to all of you, that you're looking at your generation's Jeremy Clarkson meets Martha Stewart.
Yeah. I'm going to get choked up.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, man. It's really nice to meet you. I'm always excited when I can have somebody on who I actually like.
Oh, hell yeah.
Unlike the guys.
Yeah,
that are-
Lieberman.
No, I love those guys. I love those guys, and I know you do too. And
Yeah,
please
definitely.
come back when they're both in town.
Yeah, I'd love
and
to.
we'll do a proper show. And
For sure.
good luck with everything.
Yeah, definitely, man.
We'll see you next week. Spike's Car Radio.